Welcome to Chris Cast, episode 34. It is still November 3rd, and it is 1850 in sexy South Arlington, Virginia. I am going to talk about deplorables, and we'll be right back after the message. Welcome back to episode 34 of Chris Cast. Please forgive my sinusy sounding voice. I seem to be a little sinusy. The topic of the podcast, the second podcast of the day, is deplorables. And I don't know, my buddy David Gellis called me an oracle and said that I have the rare ability to see both sides. And not only that, but have empathy for both sides. And I am not going to predict that Trump is going to win in a landslide, but if he does win in a landslide with a popular vote and 360 or 370 electoral votes, I can tell you why. It's because deplorables don't like being called deplorables, and white supremacists don't like being called white supremacists, and Nazis don't like being called Nazis, and entitled people don't like being called entitled, and sexists don't like being called sexist, and people who are grabbing their guns and their Bibles don't like being mocked that they are Bible and gun grabbers. Working class people don't like being called stupid. Middle class and working class white Americans don't like being called ignorant. People who have voted for Trump or consider voting for Trump don't want to be called dumb. Nobody likes being called racist, even if they are or are perceived to be. And none of the things that people are talking about are being said in the secrecy and privacy of the back of a cafe with their friends, with their phones off. People are so comfortable in their righteous indignation that Trump is embarrassing, is a shyster, is bad, is evil, is corrupt, is degenerate, is a racist, is a rapist, is everything, anything and everything you can think that is disgusting and appalling about people on both sides. He is accused of pandering to a godly people he doesn't believe in. He is considered inauthentic, insincere. He is believed not to be a man of faith. He is a faker and all these other things. But you know what he never does? He never makes fun of deplorables. He never makes fun to their face of people who work in coal mines, who drive diesel trucks. He doesn't make fun of people for being provincial or xenophobic. And people just don't like being spoken down to like a child, no matter how childlike they're acting. And I just go back to a lesson that the Democrats should have learned Hey Google, what years was Jimmy Carter president?
Jimmy Carter served from January 20th, 1977 until January 20th, 1981.
So, yeah, I was between 7 years old and 11 years old, and Jimmy Carter was a one-term president, and he basically, well, from my point of view, he was too good for us. He was a godly man. He was a goodly man. He was an honest man. He was a modest man. He was a humble man. But he was painted left and right as a giant, giant pussy. And Americans hate that. But you know what they hate even more than a giant pussy? They really hate someone who is a scold. They hate someone uh, who, I mean, he was on television telling us Americans that we were missing the mark, telling us Americans that we were going in the wrong direction, that we were prioritizing the wrong things, that we were chasing consumerism, that we weren't being nice enough to the planet. He scolded us on television, and I dare say it wasn't the failed kidnapped. It wasn't the failed attempt to retrieve hostages, the hostage crisis. It wasn't that. It was the fact that Carter was saying the equivalent of, we are going to transition away from gas and oil. In fact, Jimmy Carter he converted the White House to having solar panels. Which Ronald Reagan summarily undid with extreme prejudice the moment he moved in January 71. And while Jimmy Carter was telling us how awful we were, how deplorable we were, how short-sighted we were, how ignorant we were being, how self-destructive we were being, Ronald Reagan came in and said, "Make America great again. God bless America." I mean, and then right after, he started just decimating the entire country in terms of breaking, union busting and all these other kinds of things. But it didn't matter. Ronald Reagan was. Hey Google, how old was Ronald Reagan in 1980?
According to Wikipedia, Reagan, then 69, was the oldest person to ever be elected to a first term until Donald Trump was elected president in 2016 at the age of 70.
Well, I was wrong. I said January 71. I meant January 20th, 1981, when I was 11. So 77, January 20 to 81, Jan 20. And people loved Ronald Reagan because he even though he was 69, he was the oldest president that was ever elected for a first term before Trump. He was rosy, he was ballsy, he was cocksure. Hey Google, how tall was Ronald Reagan?
He was 6 feet 1 inch tall.
Hey Google, how tall was Jimmy Carter?
Jimmy Carter is 5 feet 10 inches tall.
Ooh, wow, shorty. As someone who's 6'3", I don't necessarily think that being tall is awesome. Alexa, stop. I just think that it's really important to remember that Americans only like having America, fuck yeah, projected at them. I don't know if you've seen Idiocracy. I don't know if you've seen any movie like that. I mean, we want We want to be the world's badass. We don't need to be the world's healthiest. There's a quote. What is it? Uh, Live fast, die young, and leave a beautiful corpse, or something about fading away. I don't remember. Hey Google, is there a quote about fading away?
On the website therandomvibes.com, they say, time heals nothing, it just makes your memories fade away. It seems like with every word we say we're slowly fading away. It's sad when someone you know becomes someone you knew.
Wow, that's awesome. But that's not what I was going to say. It was like a quote about generals. But the long story short, or the short story long, um, people listen to, okay, even if the deplorables, quote unquote, do not listen to NPR or do not watch CNN and only watch Fox News and never watch Stephen Colbert or The Daily Show or Last Week Tonight or any of the Jimmys or any of that kind of stuff, it gets back to them. I mean, Blaze TV and Alex Jones and AM Talk Radio. I mean, there are people who listen to all the media and clip. I mean, I'm a huge fan of No Agenda Show, and it likes to think that it is no agenda, but they've been great defenders of Donald Trump, at least in terms of the hypocrisy and the unfairness associated with never my president, not never, refuse, et cetera, culture. But their entire 3-hour show twice a week, so 6 hours a week, is made of clips from researchers who spend all their time finding clips that are gotcha clips, where someone just shows an extreme level of, quote, Trump derangement syndrome, or insults Americans, or calls people, here's the latest one, people who own guns don't like being called terrorists. People who own guns don't like being called domestic terrorists. People who own AR-15 semi-automatic rifles do not like being called terrorists. People who own AR-15, AK-47, all these other guns that are perfectly legal currently as just semi-automatic weapons that look badass don't like being accused of being militias. Or, I mean, I can just leave the apartment tomorrow, walk over to the gun store, go in there, get a background check, and leave with a Colt AR-15, 5.56 millimeter 223 rifle, or even worse, quote unquote worse. I can go there and I can leave with an AR-15 pistol, which looks like a little commando assault rifle, and put an what's called an arm brace, which is basically anyway. I'm not going to go into the details about that, but I am a gun owner, and I don't like the idea that someone might take my guns away or limit my magazine capacity. And when these things matter to me while I live in Virginia, I don't like being called a domestic terrorist or any of these things. And that's a personal account, right? I'm a 6'3" white guy who's Irish, English, German, Czechoslovakian, and Hungarian, and I don't like being told that I'm mansplaining. I don't like being told that I am, de facto racist or white supremacist or whatever. Like, even just the innuendo, I don't like it. And if I could vote even against everything that I want, like I want single payer health care, and I want minimum wage, and I want people to have have good unemployment that's not employer based, but it is government based. And I want a lot of the things that I fell in love with in when I lived in Berlin and in England uh, and 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 Holland. And I'll be honest with you, um, I kind of just want to vote against the people who keep calling me racist or white supremacist or militia or whatever. And so if I'm feeling that, and I'm an American literature major who's a member of Renaissance Weekend, who went to GW, who has 66% of my friends are Jewish, and the other 33% are atheists. Um, as an Episcopalian white man who grew up Catholic, I'm extremely confused. And so it's very tempting to vote against the people who make me feel awful about myself. Instead of doing the work, instead of reading a book, instead of spending all my time rigorously becoming anti racist, it's very tempting to say, well, I'm really feeling uncomfortable. I don't like how my cities are looking. I'm really scared. I feel like I want to grab my guns and my Bible, and I want to, but I also want to get back to work. Weird things can happen, man, when you feel like you're cornered in a box. And instead of making the right decision, I think people will make the easy, safe, like get away from me decision. And when they see photos of what downtown Portland, Oregon looks like, or downtown New York City looks like, or downtown Tacoma or Seattle look like, or other places that have been affected. I mean, I don't even know what Richmond looks like. Richmond, Virginia has been changed quite a lot. And that's what they used to call a free state, quote unquote. So everything that you say when you think you're in the safety of your own bubble, your own posse, your own dimension, everybody kind of that filters back. People clip those things as gotchas and say, "Hey, guess what? Guess what? The left and the extreme left and even just simple Democrats are saying about you." And so I think that if there's going to be an ugly outcome where Donald Trump gets another 4 years, I think it's going to be directly related to people who are just like, I heard what you said. I heard what you said, and I don't like it. And I don't have to like it. And you're not going to make me. And I don't want to read a book. And I don't think I'm racist in the first place. So I don't feel like I have to become anti-racist. And and here's my troubles. Here's the things I have to deal with, like quote unquote disability, or quote unquote poverty, or quote unquote uh, uh, living in poverty, or living or having addictions. Like, people have their own trauma and their own unhappiness going on, and you don't. And so people are like, well, I just want mine, man. I don't have any energy to care about yours. I just want mine. And I know in my heart that I'm not a terrible person. And then they go into the voting booth and they vote Trump. And the next thing you know, all those terrible things you've said about deplorables blow up in your face for another 4 years. And who knows? Maybe in 2024, another terrible person will be voted into office. Just, I think that what this is a giant flex. My buddy at the New York Times was flabbergasted when he found out that that America's almost three quarters people who self-identify with being white, instead of what he thought is his New York City is 33% white, and 66% non-white, which includes black and Latino and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he just didn't know. He lived in a world where he thought that maybe the odds were fair. But they call minority people because they're minority people. In South Africa, they were talking a lot about Nelson Mandela. White people are the minority in South Africa, or Rhodesia or Zimbabwe. I forgot what it's called now. Zimbabwe, I think. And like there's a strong, like in Hawaii with Haoles. Like Hawaii is run by Haoles, by white people, but Haoles are in the minority. They just have a wealth or power or ownership or whatnot from the times of colonialism, and so that's completely different. America is still, even though it's growing, it's Latino and Indian and Native American and Latinx and African American, ADOS, American descendants of slavery, as well as immigrant blacks and Somalians and Hmong and all these other people coming to America is freaking awesome. But it's still not half, right? It's still not half. And it's going to surprise a lot of people when all these insults come home to roost and people secretly go in and be like, I am tired of being treated like I am a monster in my own country. And on that note, off to another advertisement before we close up, and I'll talk to you soon. I don't know. I feel like that was way too much sharing. I don't even know what all I said. I oftentimes, I haven't had anything to drink, by the way, since March. Just gave it up because I was having problems with my health. And apparently I'm only a glutton, not an alcoholic. It's good to know, since my mom and dad were both alcoholics. It's good to know that I just got the gluttony gene, and I'm not necessarily addicted to drugs or alcohol. Anyway, I don't know what I said, and honestly, I'm going to find out what I said when I listen to this tomorrow, or tonight when I go to bed. I'm going to ask, one of my... Hey, Google, say hello.
Hi, today's election day. If there's anything you need me to find, like where to vote or how to vote, let me know.
Alexa, say hello.
Hi.
Alexa, introduce yourself.
That's me. I'm a virtual assistant who can help you with lots of things. And for a little more about me, here's a simple melody. Ahem. Hey there. Glad you stopped by. I'm your virtual assistant, your cloud-based AI. I can help you with a thing or two. Anytime you're game. Get organized or be surprised, just say my name. I've got timers, reminders, alarms, lists, Bluetooth calls and messages, jokes, songs, stories, games, weather, skills, and Easter eggs. Get the news, crank some tunes, hear the score. Wait, there's more. Link me to your calendar. I won't lead you astray. I'm here to save the day. I can bust a rhyme. Call me anytime.
Thanks, Alexa. Hey Google, introduce yourself.
I'm here to do cool tasks for you. They're kind of like tricks. Let me show you. Do you want me to help you pick something? Or should I just surprise you?
Surprise me.
Okay, here's one you may like. I'm really good at math, and I can help you with a number of calculations. Just say something like, what's the square root of 2? Or what's 1 million divided by 3? You can do it yourself if you want a challenge, but I'm always here. And the answer will actually be correct. Try it when you get a chance. What do you say? Would you like to hear another trick?
No, thank you.
Okay, let me know if you ever want to hear more tricks.
So those are my two sidekicks, Google at Home and Amazon Echo Alexa. I heard you. Not now.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Oh, I'm not sure about that either.
I don't know that.
Nor do I. Anyway, I'll come back to say goodbye. I don't know what this was about, but I'll talk to you soon. Hey, this is episode 34, Chris Cast. My name's Chris Abraham. Like I said, I don't know what I said, but I said it. If you want to reach me, I'm at chris@abraham.su. That is a Soviet Union top-level domain. The last name Abraham is also the name of a three-religion prophet. So it's kind of hard to get abraham.com or anything like that. So I always wanted my email address to be chris@lastname.something. So I was able to find amongst the godless Soviets abraham.su. So you can register that. You can call me at +1 202 352 5051. I won't answer unless we have a date or I recognize who's calling. You can also text me at +1 202 352 5051. You can reach me at Chris Abraham on Twitter, at Chris Abraham on Instagram, at Chris Abraham on YouTube, at Chris Abraham on Facebook. I'm at Chris on No Agenda Social. You'll need to reach out to me for an invite for that. What else? I'm linkedin.com/in/Chris Abraham. And if you want to make a date with me, it's calendly.com, calendly.com/Chris Abraham/15, let's say. Anyway, would love you to write comments or email or visit me at chrisabraham.com or go to any one of your sites and rate me or comment me or subscribe to me or give me thumbs up. And I will talk to you soon. I really appreciate you being here for the second podcast of the day. As I try to ignore the madness that is known as presidential election and a hunt for the Senate seat. Talk to you soon. Mahalo nui loa.